Hey everyone, I'm Rebecca and welcome to Watch Mojo. You know how they say that truth is stranger than fiction? Well, Hollywood caught on to that, and the industry has taken advantage several times by basing many movies on fact. Today, we have put together a full hour of movies based on real life. To start, you may think that all science fiction movies are just that, fiction, but they're not. Let's take a look at the top 10 sci-fi movies inspired by true events.
Get out of there! What is that?
I don't know what that is.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 sci-fi movies inspired by true events.
They were from another country we might understand, but they're not even from this planet at all.
Is that what you mean? I must be awake.
I'm not letting you do this! You can hate me! You can hate me, but I love you! I'm not letting you do this!
For this list, we're looking at notable science fiction films that took their cues from real-life occurrences. And since we'll be describing specific plot details, this is your spoiler alert. Which movie's true-to-life inspiration surprised you the most? Number 10, The Blob. Could it really be that a film about an all-devouring, gelatinous alien life form is based on true accounts? Believe it! On September 26, 1950, it was reported that a pair of Philadelphia police officers witnessed a sparkly, parachute-like object descending from the sky. Investigating further, they recounted finding a pulsating purple substance resembling glowing jelly. And when one of the officers dared put his hand in it, he quickly discovered a sticky residue that later dissolved, leaving behind an odorless scum. Fortunately for us, movie producer Jack H. Harris and Company would use the odd incident as inspiration for what would become one of cinema's most legendary movie monsters. Number 9, Safety Not Guaranteed.
There are people after me. How do I know you don't work for them?
Because I've never worked for anybody in my life.
You ever face certain death?
If it was so certain, I wouldn't be here, would I?
Perhaps just as bizarre as the events in this Aubrey Plaza starring sci-fi comedy is the movie's inspiration. The film sees Plaza's character called upon to help investigate a strange classified ad, one seeking a partner in a trip through time. As it turns out, an exact posting noting that, quote, safety was not guaranteed actually ran in a 1997 issue of Backwoods Home magazine. Receiving thousands of legitimate responses, it was later revealed to have been a joke, as magazine contributor John Silveira included the adverts to fill unsold ad space.
He's looking for someone to go back in time with him, do a little tongue-in-cheek investigation, find this guy, see if he thinks it's real or if it's a prank.
This, of course, left disappointed trans-temporal travelers no choice but to live vicariously through the proceedings in the film, where that ad's promises of time hopping were all too real.
The mission's been updated. I'm going back for you now. All right. You trust me?
Number 8, Communion.
They dragged me out in the middle of the night.
As far as alien survivor stories turned movies go, 1989's Communion stands as a particularly memorable retelling. Based on alleged alien abductee Whitley Strieber's book of the same name, the movie follows the author's fervent claims of otherworldly kidnappings.
If I was in my right mind, I would know that too.
As the story goes, Strieber's life took an unsettling turn when he awoke one night to find a small alien watching him. It's not long before Strieber, through the help of hypnosis, learns that he has actually been visited prior to this many times.
I had enough. I give up. I want to go home.
And while the movie plays fast and loose with his professed accounts, it did manage to pull off some inspired casting. Yep, we dare you to find a better unhinged alien abductee than Christopher Walken.
I want to say a few things. First, I'd like to say season's greetings. Then I'd like to say, keep your hands on the table at all times.
Number 7, Phoenix Forgotten.
No one really took it that seriously from what I remember, except Josh.
There's nothing quite like a real-life mystery to get a film studio's tail wagging. And so, when a set of mysterious lights in strange formations were spotted over the darkened skies of Phoenix, Arizona on a fateful night in 1997, Hollywood couldn't resist. It may have taken 20 years, but Phoenix Forgotten attempted to capitalize on the Phoenix Lights phenomenon by way of a found-footage sci-fi thriller.
Where's it coming from?
I don't know.
Ashley. Oh my God.
And while the characters' actions in the film are fictional, the lights themselves and subsequent frenzy surrounding them were all too real. Heck, even the governor of Arizona at the time, Fife Symington, stated that the whole thing was a true mystery beyond his explanation.
Ashley, stop!
Number 6. Fire in the Sky.
What the hell's he doing out there? Get back to the truck! The hell is that?
When it comes to alien abductions in cinema, not many can hold a candle to the one featured in Robert Lieberman's Fire in the Sky.
What is it? I don't know what that is.
The fact that it's drawn from a true-life account only adds to the chilling astonishment. Occurring in 1975, Travis Walton purportedly witnessed a strange sight in the sky while with a work crew near Snowflake, Arizona. When he and his co-workers pursued the unidentified object, Walton states he was hit by an immense energy beam. Assuming their workmate had met his end, the other men took off. But 5 days later, Travis reappeared in town, asserting that he'd been abducted by extraterrestrials.
Hey man, it's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be alright, Travis.
It's probably best if we spare you the queasy details surrounding the alleged experiments he underwent, though. Number 5. Contact.
Do you think there's people on other planets?
I don't know, Sparks. But I guess I'd say, if it is just us, it seems like an awful waste of space.
Are we alone in the universe? That's the question Jodie Foster's Dr. Ellie Arroway obsessively tries to answer in Robert Zemeckis' celebrated sci-fi drama. It's also the question Jill Tarter, the inspiration for Foster's character, spent her entire adult life focused on.
Willie's right. If we go public with this and we're wrong, that's it. It's over. We're cooked.
During filming, the former director of the SETI Institute would often meet with Foster to discuss the ins and outs of researching extraterrestrial life within the realm of astronomy, not to mention what such a person's life was truly like. And while unlike the events in the film, Tarter never actually made otherworldly contact, her work has become vitally important in the search for alien life. And for that, we thank her.
You're an interesting species. An interesting mix. You're capable of such beautiful dreams. And such horrible nightmares.
Number 4, War of the Worlds.
And now, fought with the terrible weapons of super science, menacing all mankind and every creature on Earth, comes the War of the Worlds.
You are probably aware that the many War of the Worlds films are based on H.G. Wells' 1898 science fiction novel of the same name.
Maybe they're not too sure we're here. They could be as curious about us as we are about them.
What you might not know, however, is that Steven Spielberg's 2005 adaptation of the story takes some direct inspiration from a certain true-life tragic event. Framed around a colossal alien invasion where planet-wide mass destruction ensues, the famed director uses the unrelenting devastation in Wells' seminal work to serve up some stark parallels to an infamous attack that took place on American soil. With plenty of imagery echoing the unforeseen events in New York City, Spielberg and his team gave the classic tale a powerful dose of realism, and that upped the intensity tenfold.
Don't do this. I want to be here. I know you want to fight. I need to see this. I know it seems like you have to, but you don't.
Number 3, District 9.
They're spending so much money to keep them here when they could be spending it on other things, but at least they're keeping them separate from us.
One of the most critically lauded sci-fi films of the modern cinema also serves as an examination of South Africa's apartheid system. Neil Blomkamp's District 9 sees a group of starving aliens arrive in South Africa in the early 80s, only to be confined to internment camp slums for their troubles.
We require your scroll on this eviction notification.
Yes, it's eviction notice.
Put your scroll on the bottom there. You see, there's your name at the top. Christopher Johnson. You're gonna put your name at the bottom.
Things would begin to change for the intergalactic creatures, however, when happenstance causes a human bureaucrat to transform into one of them.
What is happening to Mom? Just breathe deep. What is happening to Mom, Doctor?
The movie's events openly mirror Cape Town's District 6 neighborhood in the 1970s, where some 60,000 residents were removed from their homes and placed in a poorly constructed township. Blomkamp not only gave us a fascinating sci-fi adventure, but a powerful exploration in xenophobia and human injustice in the process.
I can't believe I get paid to do this. I love watching the prawns die.
Number 2, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Steven Spielberg's quintessential alien encounter film isn't inspired by one particular true-life account, but many. The movie, which features a man compulsively drawn to the Wyoming wilderness after encountering a UFO, is actually based upon years and years of government research on unidentified sightings. In fact, in preparation for his sci-fi feature, Spielberg brought on a revered astronomer to help give the film a relative sense of realism. It may have been a tad too authentic, however, as the director would later recount receiving a lengthy warning letter from NASA about the alleged dangers in making such a film. Luckily for us, it only made Spielberg even more of a believer. Number 1, Godzilla. Okay, so clearly there are no existing prehistoric sea monsters roaming the real world, thankfully. But the inspiration for such a creature is very much rooted in reality. The 1954 kaiju film that started the Godzilla franchise is the direct result of the nuclear age. On 2 separate days in 1945, the United States released a pair of nuclear attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. Naturally, this use of atomic weaponry led to an abundance of anxiety surrounding a nuclear arms race. And in such, these concerns were manifested in Godzilla, the walking embodiment of nuclear radiation.
もし水爆実験が続けて行われるとしたら、あのゴジラの同類がまた世界のどこかへ
All these years later, and the King of the Monsters still stands as a powerful symbol of nuclear destruction.
Somehow I never would have expected a movie like The Blob to be based in reality, but it just proves what I said before. Sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. The truth can also be scarier than fiction, which is something proven by our next list, the top 10 movie serial killers based on real people.
Did you know I'm utterly insane?
Hey everyone, I'm Rebecca and welcome to Watch Mojo. Today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 movie serial killers who were based on real life killers.
That's not a knife. This is a knife.
A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
For this list, we're looking at movie characters that were based on or inspired by actual killers in the real world. Which of these stories do you find the most chilling? Number 10, Don Burnside, the Clove Hitch Killer.
Dad.
What are you doing here?
This thriller drama follows Tyler Burnside, a 16-year-old Christian in Kentucky who suspects that his father is a serial killer with a specific obsession. His father, Don Burnside, played by Dylan McDermott, is a devout family man who's active in the local community.
You can't control what pops into your head, right? I mean, what if a thought popped into your head right now? A bad thought. Something like, I don't know, grabbing one of these tools in here and wham!
He is loosely based on Dennis Rader. Also known as BTK, Rader was active in Kansas from 1974 to 1991, killing 10 people. Like Don, BTK was prominent in the local church community and also served as a Cub Scout leader. He was hiding in plain sight and wasn't arrested until 2005. over 30 years after his killing spree began in '74.
I'm not mad. Just disappointed.
Number 9. Kit and Holly, Badlands. Serving as Terrence Malick's directorial debut, Badlands stars Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek as 25-year-old Kit Carruthers and 15-year-old Holly Sargis. Holly falls for Kit, and the two move to the titular Badlands of Montana, where they commit various crimes.
We're going to take the Cadillac for a while. How'd that be?
Fine.
Don't worry, I won't let her drive. Oh, and here's a list of everything I borrowed. Car's on there, too. Okay, ma'am, let's go. Out that way.
The story is very loosely based on the crime spree of Charles Starkweather and Carol Ann Fugate in the late 1950s. Just as Kit kills Holly's father, so did Charles murder Carol's stepfather.
Hey, where you going?
However, other details are quite different. For example, Charles also killed Carol's mother and young sister. He was actually 19 and Carol 14, and their crime spree occurred in Nebraska and Wyoming. Furthermore, Carol was actually sentenced to life in prison, whereas in the film, Holly receives probation.
You're quite an individual, kid.
Think you'll take that into consideration?
Number 8. Mick Taylor, Wolf Creek.
What do you actually do? Now.
Oh, I can tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
This sadistic film follows 3 friends backpacking across Australia when they're accosted by local man Mick Taylor in Wolf Creek National Park.
Like your little mate said before, you know. That's not a knife. This is a knife.
Mick stalks the group before tormenting and killing 2 of them, while the third escapes. Writer-director Greg McLean based the story on the backpacker murders that occurred in New South Wales, Australia from 1989 to 1993. The man responsible, Ivan Milat, killed 7 travelers before his arrest. The story also draws on the story of another Australian killer, Bradley John Murdoch, who, in 2001, murdered British backpacker Peter Falconio. Like Ben in Wolf Creek, Falconio's girlfriend, Joanne Lees, managed to escape into the bush.
Where do you live?
Oh, I get around, you know. Never know where I might pop up.
Number 7. Andre Chikatilo, Citizen X. This HBO show from the 90s stars Stephen Ray and Donald Sutherland as 2 Soviet detectives hunting down a serial killer responsible for over 50 murders.
A man is what he fights for.
Well, I don't fight for anything.
I know.
The man is Andre Chikatilo, a real serial killer who was convicted for 52 murders from 1978 to 1990. The movie studiously keeps to reality, including the real names of those involved and the number of murders committed. The movie even gets the smaller details right, like the fact that Chikatilo was arrested by plainclothes police officers and that he broke down, cried, and admitted his crimes during a psychological profile conducted by Alexander Bukanovsky.
It is the last, is it not? You believe the police might see your image in their eyes.
Number 6. John Christie, 10 Rillington Place. This British crime drama stars Richard Attenborough as John Christie, a serial killer who murders people in his London flat and hides the corpses inside.
No, Muriel. No. Breathe, Muriel.
Another resident of 10 Rillington, Timothy Evans, is erroneously found guilty and sentenced to death for the murders of his wife and daughter.
And may the Lord have mercy on your soul. Amen.
When it comes to serial killer films, they don't get much more accurate than 10 Rillington Place. Much of the plot remains true to life, including the method of Christie's murders, the execution of Timothy Evans in 1950, and the fact that 3 bodies were found in the walls shortly after Christie moved out.
Cliff, go and get the police.
Even some of the exterior shots were filmed at the real 10 Rillington Place, including those of Attenborough using the front door. Number 5. Patrick Bateman, American Psycho. It's quite the combo. Patrick Bateman is a hotshot Wall Street banker and serial killer.
So what do you do?
I'm into, well, murders and executions mostly.
Do you like it?
Well, it depends. Why?
Well, most guys I know who work in mergers and acquisitions really don't like it.
While Leonardo Dicaprio, Edward Norton, Keanu Reeves, and Brad Pitt were considered for the role, it eventually went to Christian Bale and has since become one of his signature performances.
I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?
While Bateman doesn't have a direct real-world counterpart, author Bret Easton Ellis was reportedly influenced by the story of Ted Bundy, a similarly good-looking and charismatic man who killed at least 30 people throughout the 1970s. Bundy was not an investment banker, but his looks, personality, deceptive tricks, and methods have similarities to Bateman.
I think if you stay, something bad will happen. I think I might hurt you. You don't want to get hurt, do you?
Number 4. Scorpio, Dirty Harry.
Don't pass out on me yet. No, not yet. Not yet. Don't pass out on me yet, you rotten oinker.
One of Clint Eastwood's most popular movies, Dirty Harry sees Inspector Harry Callahan hunting down a murderer by the name of Scorpio. Scorpio shoots innocent people with a sniper rifle and keeps in contact with the San Francisco Police Department, often demanding blackmail and ransom money.
Double-crossing San Francisco police made me do this. Now ransom $200,000 and used 10s and 20s.
Scorpio was very loosely based on the Zodiac Killer, a still unidentified man who killed at least 5 people around the greater San Francisco area in the late 1960s. The Zodiac himself claims to have killed 37, but this is unconfirmed. While the Zodiac never used a sniper rifle, he did stay in contact with the police and the press throughout his crime spree, often taunting them with letters and cryptograms. The case remains open to this day.
I'm not the Zodiac. And if I was, I certainly wouldn't tell you.
Number 3. Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Sally, I hear something. Stop. Stop.
One of the most iconic slasher films of all time, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre stars Gunnar Hansen as Leatherface, a psychotic serial killer in rural Texas. And while the movie is entirely fictional, various aspects of Leatherface were inspired by murderer and grave robber Ed Gein. Gein never used a chainsaw, and his crimes were committed in Wisconsin, not Texas. But, like Leatherface, he exhumed corpses from graveyards, decorated his house with bones, and wore masks made from skin. He also murdered 2 women in the mid-50s, leading to his lifelong institutionalization at Wisconsin's Mendota Mental Health Institute. Number 2. Hannibal Lecter, The Silence of the Lambs.
Good morning.
Anthony Hopkins' Hannibal Lecter gets less than 20 minutes of screen time in this film, but boy does he own it.
A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Author Thomas Harris reportedly based the character on a physician named Alfredo Bailly Trevino. Harris met Trevino while writing a piece for Argosy magazine and based Hannibal's traits on the prison doctor, including his, quote, certain elegance, penchants for, quote, standing very still, and his, quote, peculiar understanding of the criminal mind.
What is its nature? What does he do, this man you seek?
He kills women.
No, that is incidental.
Trevino was serving life for murdering and cutting up his boyfriend, and he was also suspected of killing several hitchhikers in the 50s and 60s. Number 1. Norman Bates, Psycho. Anthony Perkins gave one of the all-time great movie performances as Norman Bates.
Do you go out with friends?
Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
Widely regarded as one of the best characters in film history, Norman is the psychotic proprietor of the Bates Motel, who likes to dress up as his deceased mother and kill the motel's occupants. Like Leatherface, Norman Bates was partly modeled after Ed Gein. Gein was very close with his mother, and her death in 1945 may have contributed to Gein's insanity. Years later, Gein began exhuming corpses of women who resembled his mother and attempted to craft a suit so he could literally become her. Sound familiar? If that list taught me anything, it's that Ed Gein is one of the scariest killers in history, real or fake. It also reminded me of how terrifying Anthony Hopkins' Oscar-winning portrayal of Hannibal Lecter was. Speaking of which, let's take a look at the top 20 Oscar-winning portrayals of real-life people. Hey everyone, I'm Rebecca and welcome to Watch Mojo. Today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 Oscar-winning portrayals of real-life people.
Hello, Norma.
Mr. Mason, you know who I am.
Did you just look at me? Did you? Look at me! Look at me! How dare you! Close your eyes!
Welcome to the Dallas Buyers Club.
For this list, we'll be looking at performances based on actual individuals that resulted in Oscar gold. So what's your favorite portrayal of a real-life person? Number 20, Eddie Redmayne as Stephen Hawking, The Theory of Everything. Stephen Hawking rose to mainstream prominence well after he developed motor neuron disease, but this biopic focuses on the early years. It begins during his student days at Cambridge, chronicling the struggles and triumphs that followed. The role required Eddie Redmayne to gradually undergo a radical physical transformation. The actor spent 6 months preparing for the part, and his research shines through whenever he's on screen.
Wouldn't that be nice, Professor?
Even as Hawking loses his ability to speak and much of his muscle control, Redmayne brings out his personality through the subtlest body language. Making each mannerism count, Redmayne reminds us how witty and charming Hawking could be.
What about you? What are you?
Oh, cosmologist. I'm a cosmologist.
What's that?
It's a kind of religion for intelligent atheists.
Although Hawking was primarily celebrated for his mind, it's the heart Redmayne brings to this performance that won him the Oscar.
We are all different. However bad life may seem, there is always something you can do and succeed at. While there is life, there is hope.
Number 19, Sean Penn as Harvey Milk, Milk. In a powerful performance that netted him his second Best Actor Oscar, Penn portrayed one of the most important figures in LGBTQ+ history.
Harvey, society can't exist without the family.
We're not against that.
You're not? What, can two men reproduce?
No. But God knows we keep trying.
Harvey Milk was California's first openly gay individual to be elected to office. Penn overflows with hopeful determination as Milk, commanding rallies with natural charisma.
I want to recruit you for the fight to preserve your democracy. Brothers and sisters, you must come out. Come out.
As upbeat as Milk comes off around friends and supporters, he can equally hold his own in the political arena. Behind closed doors, however, Milk is burdened by his two greatest fears: that he won't live to see his 50th birthday, and that he'll die without accomplishing anything.
40 years old, and I haven't done a thing I'm proud of. Keep eating all that cake, you're gonna be fat ass by the time you're 50. I'll never make it to 50.
While his life ended in tragedy, Milk's impact cannot be denied, and Penn's performance captures the full scope of his immeasurable legacy. Number 18, Julia Roberts as Erin Brockovich, Erin Brockovich. By the early 2000s, Julia Roberts was overdue for an Oscar. It was her iconic portrayal of this legal clerk turned consumer advocate that finally gained Roberts' entry into the Best Actress Club.
Hi.
Hi.
Donna Jensen?
Yes?
I'm Erin Brockovich with Masri and Vidito.
Oh! You're a lawyer?
Hell no. I hate lawyers. I just work for them.
While Brockovich states up front that she's not a lawyer, she does emerge as an unlikely crusader for justice in a heated legal battle.
Since the demur, we have more than 400 plaintiffs in. Let's be honest. We all know there are more out there. They may not be the most sophisticated people, but they do know how to divide, and $20 million isn't shit when you split it between them.
Aaron.
The film does take some liberties, but Roberts gets Brockovich down to a T. She doesn't care what other people think. She speaks her mind, dresses as she pleases, and goes after what she wants.
Okay, look, I think we got off on the wrong foot here.
That's all you got, lady. 2 wrong feet and f***ing ugly shoes.
At the same time, Brockovich constantly thinks about others, be it her children or strangers who've been wronged by a careless corporation. Roberts dominates the screen, much like Brockovich owns every room she enters. Number 17, Matthew McConaughey as Ron Woodruff, Dallas Buyers Club. The McConaughey sauce was in full swing in 2013, peaking with his Oscar-winning turn as Ron Woodruff. It can sometimes feel like McConaughey is playing a parody of himself in other movies, but he completely disappears into this role.
Let me give you a little news flash. There ain't nothing out there can kill Ron Woodruff in 30 days.
McConaughey portrays the lion-hearted Woodruff as a man too stubborn to die without a fight. Ron not only defies the odds his doctors give him after his AIDS diagnosis, but also breaks all the rules to distribute drugs to HIV patients.
Welcome to the Dallas Buyers Club.
McConaughey brings an almost Robin Hood-esque quality to the role. Although Woodruff possesses an unbreakable spirit, it becomes clear that his days are numbered.
How can I get some of this?
None of those drugs have been approved by the FDA.
Screw the FDA. I'm going to be DOA. I got to sue the hospital to get my medicine?
McConaughey lost 47 pounds for the role, and as jarring as his physical transformation is, his magnetism stands out above all else. Number 16, Sissy Spacek as Loretta Lynn, coal miner's daughter. This is one biopic where the real-life figure had a fair deal of input. Country singer Loretta Lynn selected Sissy Spacek to play her, although she didn't know the actress's work. Lynn made the decision judging from Spacek's photo, and fortunately, her instincts paid off. Just as Lynn is initially insecure about performing in the movie, Spacek had reservations about accepting the role.
Dude, sometimes I think you got a washer missing in your brain. I can't play that thing.
Most people can't without they learn how first, God.
After Lynn jumped the gun and announced that Spacek had signed on, though, everything came together. Vocal dubbing was discussed, but Spacek worked closely with Lynn to nail her singing voice, accent, and guitar playing. It amounted to an uncanny portrayal of a woman who rose up from a difficult background to become the queen of country music. Number 15, Nicole Kidman as Virginia Woolf, The Hours. Kidman couldn't be more unrecognizable as English writer Virginia Woolf. Audiences tend to dwell on the prosthetic nose she wore for the role. Anyone who's seen The Hours, though, knows why Kidman won Best Actress. Even if you take the makeup out of the equation, Kidman's performance is transformative in more ways than one.
And who will die? Tell me.
The poet will die. The visionary.
She truly becomes Virginia Woolf, capturing the famed author's passion as well as her severe depression. Struggling with mental illness, Woolf feels as if she's drowning even as she continues to breathe air.
Your illness, not you.
It is my voice.
It's not your
It's
voice.
mine and mine
It's the
alone.
voice that you hear.
It is not. It is mine. I'm dying in this town.
Although Kidman unearths the fear and sadness Woolf endured, she also brings out her brilliance. Woolf's work has spoken to generations, and we'll be talking about Kidman's performances for years to come as well. Number 14, Martin Landau as Bela Lugosi, Ed Wood. Talk about irony. Ed Wood was once labeled the worst director of all time, but he inspired one of Tim Burton's finest achievements, resulting in a Best Supporting Actor victory for Martin Landau. While you might have heard of Bela Lugosi, you definitely know his most famous character, Count Dracula. Unfortunately, this iconic role caused Lugosi to be typecast, and a history of drug addiction didn't help his career either. While it's debatable if Lugosi swore as much as this film suggests, Landau absolutely nails Lugosi's distinctive accent and mannerisms.
You seem a little agitated. You want to go outside and get some air?
Bullshit! I'm ready now. Roll the camera.
Landau described Lugosi as theatrical, but he strived not to chew the scenery. Landau brings pathos and humor to the role, capturing the tragic downfall and the underappreciated talents of this wholly unique individual.
Perhaps we could get together again sometime, Mr. Lugosi.
Certainly. But now, the children of the night are calling me.
Number 13, Forrest Whitaker as Idi Amin, the last king of Scotland. Forrest Whitaker is terrifying as the Butcher of Uganda, and his performance is only made more horrifying knowing that Idi Amin really was a ruthless despot. Although the film mixes fact with fiction, Whitaker's portrayal of Amin is every bit as domineering as the real deal. As chilling as Whitaker is, he can come off as surprisingly vulnerable and even cheerful at times. In some scenes, he shifts between extremes, adding to the unpredictability and intimidation.
You should have told me not to throw the Asians out in the first place. I did, but you did not persuade me, Nicholas. You did not persuade me.
Whitaker's portrayal is worthy of comparison to a Shakespearean villain. Emin's actions are tough to watch, but his monologues hit the audience just as hard.
Together, we will make this country better. And be stronger. And be free.
While some argued he was truly a supporting player, the gravitas of Whitaker's performance secured his place and victory in the Best Actor category. Number 12, Cate Blanchett as Katharine Hepburn, The Aviator. In many respects, Cate Blanchett is the Katharine Hepburn of her generation, so casting her as the 4-time Oscar winner was an obvious choice, leading to a Best Supporting Actress victory. Before Hepburn and Spencer Tracy were Hollywood's premier power couple, she was romantically tied to the enigmatic Howard Hughes. While Hughes was a larger-than-life force, nobody lit up a room or the silver screen like Hepburn. Likewise, Blanchett arguably upstages co-star Leonardo Dicaprio, which is no easy feat.
You taught me to fly, Howard. I'll take the wheel.
Hepburn was known for playing classy, humorous, strong-willed characters, not unlike herself. Blanchett encompasses all of these qualities, holding her own against Hughes. Blanchett really pulls off the mid-Atlantic accent, too, and never sounds like she's just doing an impression.
You're not extending enough on your follow-through. Follow-through is everything in golf, just like life. Haha.
Number 11, F. Murray Abraham as Antonio Salieri, Amadeus. In the 1984 Best Actor lineup, Abraham was nominated against Tom Hulce, who portrayed the titular composer. Although the film is called Amadeus, Salieri drives the plot forward, hence why Abraham won the Oscar. In a way, Abraham almost plays two characters here. During his younger years, we see Salieri as a gifted composer who nonetheless can't help but envy Mozart's musical genius. Salieri knows that Mozart is the more innovative composer, intensifying his jealousy.
Is it not good?
It is miraculous.
This story is told from the perspective of an elderly Salieri, and while the film occasionally delves into pure fantasy, it nicely fits the narrator's state of mind.
How could I tell him what music meant to me?
Whether you see Salieri as a winking devil or somebody who's simply gone mad, Abraham's performance strikes all the right keys. Number 10, Marion Cotillard as Edith Piaf, La Vie en Rose. For many Westerners, this biopic introduced them to French actress Marion Cotillard. It also may have served as their gateway into the music of Edith Piaf.
Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien.
Although her singing was dubbed, Cotillard's performance demonstrates how lip-syncing can be an art in and of itself. Cotillard took the time to study Piaf's singing techniques and body language, particularly the tongue movements. The results are so uncanny it's hard to believe Cotillard doesn't provide her own singing here, which is a testament to her acting chops. Even if you were to watch her performance on mute, you could still get chills from the sheer emotion Cotillard puts into every expression. Cotillard's performance blends romance with tragedy, beauty with grit, and high notes with low notes.
Vous êtes épatant. Vous êtes exactement ce que j'attendais. C'est incroyable. C'est moi. C'est ma vie. C'est moi.
Number 9, Susan Sarandon as Sister Helen Prejean, Dead Man Walking. The death penalty continues to generate debate, and few films have tackled it with more emotional weight than Dead Man Walking. At the story's heart is Susan Sarandon's mesmerizing performance as Sister Helen Prejean, who also wrote the nonfiction source material. Prejean firmly believes that every life has value, even despicable death row inmates like Matthew Poncelet, a composite character. This puts Prejean in the difficult position of counseling Poncelet while also empathizing with the victims' families.
I'm just trying to follow the example of Jesus, who said that every person is worth more than their worst act.
Likewise, Sarandon is presented with a tricky balancing act. Although it would have been easy to portray Prejean as a one-sided figure, Sarandon brings layers to the character that highlight the nuances of her situation. You might not cry for Poncelet, but Sarandon's performance will break your heart.
There are spaces of sorrow only God can touch. You did a terrible thing, man, a terrible thing. But you have a dignity now. Nobody could take that from you. You are a son of God, Matthew Poncelet.
Number 8. Jeremy Irons as Klaus von Bülow, Reversal of Fortune. Jeremy Irons has a knack for playing devious characters, but it's debatable if Klaus von Bülow falls into that category. Although Bülow was found guilty of attempted murder, he was later acquitted. Decades later, Bülow's innocence remains contested, with no clear answer. As such, Irons' performance keeps the audience guessing from start to finish.
What really happened? Who you are?
Who would you like me to be?
His portrayal of Bülow can come off as quite charming and sophisticated, while simultaneously being cold and calculating. He keeps everything on the inside, making him even harder to get a read on. Is he an innocent man who seems guilty, or a guilty man with a convincing legal team? Thanks to Irons, we have no idea.
You're a very strange man.
You have no idea.
Oh, so that's where Scar got that line.
You're so weird.
You have no idea.
Number 7. Philip Seymour Hoffman as Truman Capote. Capote. Truman Capote is one of the hardest figures to portray. With the wrong actor, his unusual persona could have come off like something out of an SNL sketch. Thankfully, the part went to Philip Seymour Hoffman, who erased all traces of himself to become the In Cold Blood author.
I did everything I could. Okay. I truly did.
Even for a performer of Hoffman's caliber, Capote provided a challenge. Hoffman stated in one interview that he wasn't, quote, good with accents. He thus spent 1 to 2 hours daily working on the voice as well as the body language. Instead of trying to sound exactly like Capote, Hoffman strived to find a voice that expressed his, quote, vitality and the nuances. Hoffman does just that in a performance that speaks volumes about Capote's flaws and his genius.
You paid him to say that.
How did you know?
Just when you think they've gotten as good as they can get.
I thought that was a good line.
Number 6. Barbra Streisand as Fanny Brice, Funny Girl. Some performers were born for certain roles. Barbra Streisand as Fanny Brice is one of the best examples, so much so that it's hard to separate the two.
Don't tell me not to live, just sit and putter. Life's candy and the sun's a ball of butter. Don't bring around a cloud to rain on my parade.
Of course, Streisand hits every song out of the park, with Don't Rain on My Parade arguably being her career-defining screen moment. What doesn't get nearly enough attention, however, is Streisand's dynamic comedic timing and masterful transition from humor to drama. After all, Fanny Brice was a funny girl, but her life wasn't all smiles.
What's the difference if I say I'll go away when I know I'll come back on my knees someday?
In a strange twist of fate, Streisand didn't win the Tony when she originated Brice on Broadway. Her performance in the film adaptation won over Oscar voters, however. Streisand tied with Katharine Hepburn, who portrayed another real-life figure, Eleanor of Aquitaine.
What might Solomon have sung had he seen this?
Number 5. George C. Scott as Major General George S. Patton. Patton. From the opening scene onward, George C. Scott commands this nearly 3-hour epic.
Americans traditionally love to fight. All real Americans love the sting of battle.
It's eerie how much Scott resembles the real General Patton, although the latter had a much higher-pitched voice. Scott doesn't attempt to replicate the voice, but he does convey the complex nature of the controversial general. The actor plays Patton as a tough-as-nails military man who loves his job a little too much. This makes it all the more surprising when Patton shows a moment of sincerity, getting emotional by a wounded soldier's bedside. The next minute, however, he's sending another soldier to the front line for showing weakness.
You're going back to the front, my friend. You may get shot, you may get killed, but you're going up to the fighting. Either that or I'm going to stand you up in front of a firing squad.
While moments like this made Patton a divisive figure, Scott also expresses what made Patton such a compelling leader. Number 4, Charlize Theron as Eileen Lee Wuornos, Monster. Not unlike Nicole Kidman in The Hours 1 year earlier, Charlize Theron's physical evolution into Eileen Wuornos seemed to be the main talking point of many reviews. Theron put on 30 pounds for the role, and while the makeup is phenomenal, that's all just a small facet of what makes her performance one of the all-time greats.
People kill each other every day. And for what? For politics. For religion. And they're heroes! No, there's a lot of shit I can't do anymore, but killing's not one of them.
Theron achieves something that few performers can: finding the humanity in a serial killer. This isn't to say that Theron makes Wuornos sympathetic, as the film never shies away from the unspeakable acts she committed. Through the loneliness, desperation, and sorrow Theron pours into her performance, however, we see how a cruel, unforgiving environment could create a monster such as Wuornos. It is a truly staggering performance.
Everything happens for a reason. Where there's life, there's hope. Oh, well. They gotta tell you something.
Number 3, Jamie Foxx as Ray Charles. Ray.
Now, band, follow me. Do what I do, say what I say. This is how we're gonna do it.
Jamie Foxx started playing piano at age 5. Ray Charles was only slightly younger when he discovered his calling. While Foxx's piano playing skills are on full display, this is another case where the majority of the singing was dubbed. In the same vein as Marion Cotillard, however, Foxx taps into something far more important in his portrayal of Charles: soul.
Well, I guess if you say so, I'll have to pack my things and go. That's right, hit the road, Jack.
Foxx digs deep within himself to find the turmoil Charles experienced, but also the showmanship that made him one of the most captivating performers to grace the stage. Foxx was so committed that he glued his eyes shut to play the blind musician. Charles died only 4 months before the film's release, and Foxx made sure that the High Priest of Soul got his due in his acceptance speech. Number 2, Daniel Day-Lewis as Christy Brown, My Left Foot.
Your plan's not working, Christy. Wait till it goes up the hill.
Few living actors are more synonymous with method acting than Daniel Day-Lewis, and Christy Brown remains one of the most daunting roles the actor ever took on.
He said hope deferred make the heart sick. I understood that.
Brown was a famed writer with cerebral palsy who used the toes on his left foot to write and paint. Day-Lewis uses his right foot in the film, although a mirror trick fixed that. In addition to spending 8 weeks researching at a cerebral palsy clinic, Day-Lewis was adamant about staying in character and remained in a wheelchair even when the cameras were not rolling. It resulted in 2 damaged ribs, but it all paid off on Oscar night. It wouldn't be the last time Day-Lewis embodied another person, winning his 3rd Academy Award for portraying Abraham Lincoln.
As the preacher said, I could write shorter sermons, but once I start, I get too lazy to stop.
Number 1, Robert De Niro as Jake LaMotta, Raging Bull. Martin Scorsese directed Joe Pesci to an Oscar for his performance as Tommy DeVito, who was based on real-life mobster Tommy DeSimone. Scorsese did the same 10 years earlier for Robert De Niro in Raging Bull. De Niro trained with the real Jake LaMotta, who reportedly believed the actor had what it took to become a pro boxer. De Niro went from developing the body of a champion to gaining almost 60 pounds to play an older Jake. Just as LaMotta held nothing back in the ring, De Niro does not sugarcoat the Raging Bull's home life. It wasn't until he saw the film that LaMotta realized how poorly he had treated those closest to him.
Okay, happy?
That's all I want. That's all I want.
Here, no more. There.
De Niro's portrayal was that much of a gut punch.
Never got me down. Yeah, see, look.
I hope you enjoyed this retrospective of movies based on truth. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the WatchMojo archives. Now it's time to get back to reality. Bye.